Good morning, everyone. Your morning weather briefing for this Thursday, May 21st. No changes today in the U.S. and international forecast versus what I presented from yesterday morning. Temperature and precipitation outlooks for the next couple of weeks. Going to be seeing a pretty decent cool shot moving into the middle of the country for right around the May 29th and 30th time frame. But other than that, looking at a fair amount of warmth for the next 2 weeks. Not the warmest pattern that we've ever seen for this time of year, but again, in general, outside of right around May 29th and 30th, there is a decent amount of warmth in the 2 week forecast. Precipitation wise, upper level low pressure system still going to be producing some rainfall, especially in the North Carolina area in the near term. But overall, in the 1 to 5 day time frame, the focus of the rainfall is going to be shifting more towards the western corn belt and especially the hard red winter wheat belt. This is about as wet of a forecast as we have seen all throughout this growing season for the hard red belt, as they're going to be seeing significant and even locally heavy rains for the 1 to 5 day time frame. And it's not going to be completely dry there for the 6 to 10 day period either. In the Corn Belt, rainfall for the 6 to 10 day period more towards eastern and southeastern areas versus the west and northwest. Consistent with forecasts of recent days, just no confidence whatsoever in any sort of details about the 11 to 15 day rainfall forecast. QPF discussion for the 1 to 5 day time frame. I'm not going to have any major disagreements with this forecast. Again, a lot of the rain that is shown over especially North Carolina is going to be during the next 48 hours due to our pesky closed upper level low pressure system. In the plain states, portion of Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma will start to see some fairly significant rains during the next 24 hours, then a break there for tomorrow before rains are again widespread in big portions of the hard red winter wheat belt for Saturday through Monday, which is the last 3 days of this period. I certainly cannot argue with the type of rainfall amounts and covers that are shown for the hard red belt. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is as wet of a forecast as we have seen throughout the growing season for the hard red winter wheat belt. Western corn belt rains mainly west of the Missouri River over the next 24 hours. Then basically anyone in the corn belt to the west of the Mississippi River has a chance for rain for tomorrow and extending right through Monday. Again, even there, I can't argue with the type of rains amounts and covers that are shown. Rains are never real big in the 1 to 5 day time frame in the eastern corn belt, but light rains are pretty persistent during that time frame, as is cloud cover. So overall, it's still not a good situation for a lot of drying to take place in the eastern corn belt in the 1 to 5 day time frame, even with limited rainfall in the forecast for that period. Then for the day 6 to 7 time frame, this map looks most like the overnight GFS operational model. The European operational model would have the rains extended further to the northwest in the Corn Belt, probably covering about the southeastern half of Kansas and areas to the south of there in the hard red winter wheat belt. That may be your more correct solution as well. Whatever forecast is correct, we're likely going to be seeing better coverage of half plus inch rains in this time frame in portions of the Corn Belt. Radar estimated rainfall sits 7 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday. Our upper level low pressure system, the focus of the bulk of the rainfall that is shown in this map, significant locally heavy totals, again during the last 24 hours, is across southeastern Kansas and areas to southeastern Ohio and areas to the southeast of there into the Carolinas. Rainfall pretty minimal across the rest of the middle of the country during that time frame. Again, we want to just mention radar estimated rainfall for this past week. Again, it is very wet right now across a big portion of the eastern corn belt, and again the areas that are wet right now have not seen a lot of good drying weather in recent days, and they're probably not going to be seeing anything close to optimal drying weather in the 1 to 5 day time frame either. As far as the area of the middle of the country that needs rainfall right now, that would clearly be the corn belt areas of Nebraska, and then extending into a good portion of the hard red belt in Kansas and Oklahoma. But that area that I just circled is not far away from getting some very nice rainfall amounts. Early morning radar loop here on this Thursday. Our closed upper level low pressure system is still producing some rainfall right now across the southeastern portion of Ohio and getting into the Carolinas. Otherwise, pretty minimal rains, although our next setup for rainfall is producing some rainfall right now across portions of central Nebraska. Looking at a couple of 500 millibar forecasts as of 7 o'clock this morning, our closed upper level low pressure system is still located over portions of Tennessee and Kentucky right now. Not nearly as strong as it has been in recent days. That's the reason why the biggest rainfall amounts are now behind us. But in a position like that, it is still going to be producing a lot of cloud cover today in the eastern corn belt. It still is going to be producing some rain from southeastern Ohio into North Carolina. It's not very far, though, from getting moved out. By the time we get to 7 o'clock o'clock in the morning on Saturday on the right. You can see that our upper level low pressure system has been caught by the jet stream by that time and is on its way out of the playing field. And our focus really shifts to the trough west ridge east weather pattern at that time. You can see that at that time we've got one disturbance moving through the Corn Belt producing some rainfall at that time, but the big trough low pressure, the main trough, is still located well to the west. So that would be continuing to put the plain states in the west and the western Corn Belt in still a favorable position for additional rains through the rest of the 1 to 5 day time frame that extends through Monday. So when looking at 1 to 5 day rainfall forecasts, again, just emphasizing that for the hard red winter wheat belt, excellent model agreement that this is going to be a wet period of weather in that area. A big portion, if not all of the area of the hard red belt that really needs to see rainfall right now is certainly in line to see at least an inch of rainfall during this time frame, but especially central and eastern portion of Kansas, southward into portions of Oklahoma and Texas outside of the panhandles can definitely see some heavy amounts of rainfall. Some of your biggest rains in the 1 to 5 day time frame for that area coming up during the next 24 hours, and then again for the Sunday Monday time frame. As I mentioned earlier, it is eastern portion of Nebraska that would really like to see some rainfall right now in the Corn Belt, and you can see from these maps that it is a very good model agreement that that eastern portion of Nebraska is very much a target for some 1 to 2 inch rainfall amounts over the course of the next 5 days. So I should be taking care of all of the dry weather concerns in that area as well. Rest of the western Corn Belt, really anyone there seeing at least an inch of rainfall for the 1 to 5 day time frame. You can also see in these maps, though, that the eastern Corn Belt in general not looking at any big rains for the 1 to 5 day time frame. But again, just emphasizing that lots of cloud cover in the 1 to 5 day period, scattered areas of light rain at times as well in that time frame is going to be keeping drying conditions in the eastern Corn Belt a long ways from optimal throughout the 1 to 5 day time frame. Then for the 6 to 10 day period, it is during this time frame in which rainfall coverage will be shifting more towards eastern and southeastern portions of the Corn Belt versus the northwest. Exactly how much of the Corn Belt is going to be seeing rainfall is a matter of a model disagreement right now. You can see that the GFS operational model keeps a lot of the northwestern half of the Corn Belt in dry weather during that time. European operational model has the rainfall a good deal further northwest, called the European ensemble is somewhere in between, as would be the GFS ensemble. A Canadian operational model maybe having somewhat of an agreement with the European operational model. A Canadian ensemble somewhat in between the drier GFS and European operational models right now. So obviously some differences of opinion right now on the details of the 6 to 10 day rainfall forecast. Make no mistake, though, that I do think that some additional rains will be falling in the 6 to 10 day period in the hard red belt. I do believe that it is going to be more eastern and southeastern portion of the Corn Belt favored for rainfall versus the northwestern Corn Belt, but exactly where that demarcation line is going to be is a point of model disagreement right now. I should be seeing the 6 to 10 day period featuring the biggest rains overall for the next 2 weeks in the mid-south as well. Looking at a few temperature anomaly forecasts for various days for the next couple of weeks. A temperature anomaly forecast for today. Still relatively chilly conditions today across the central and southern portion of the Corn Belt into the mid-south and southeast with temperatures running below normal. Going to be warming up somewhat today in the hard red belt and still looking at above normal temperatures for today across the northern Corn Belt, northern plains, and a good portion of the Canadian prairies. The warmth that is shown in these maps is definitely going to be taking over as the closed upper level low exits the playing field. By the time we get to Saturday, you can see that most of the nation to the east of the Rockies is going to be running a pretty solid distance above normal on temperatures for that day. And in general, temperatures staying above normal in much of the nation through about May 27th or 28th. As we get to around May 29th through May 31st, though, we are looking at a pretty notable shot of cool weather to be moving back into the middle of the country. A temperature anomaly forecast for May 30th, looking specifically at the ensembles, GFS ensemble and European ensemble. Both of them would suggest a pretty notable shot of cool weather moving back into the middle of the country. That's going to be a pretty quick shot, though, not indicative of a turn to a colder weather pattern once again as we move into June. Temperature anomaly forecast from the various ensembles for June 3rd shows that especially the central and northern plains, most of the Corn Belt back into above normal temperatures already by that time. 500 millibar forecast at the very end of the 11 to 15 day time frame. Again, still a situation as it has been all week long. Just I have no confidence whatsoever in details about especially the rainfall forecast for the 11 to 15 day time frame. Looking at the various ensemble forecasts today at the very end of the 11 to 15 day period, a trough west, ridge east weather pattern indicative there by the Canadian ensemble. I think that Canadian ensemble's 500 millibar forecast, if it were to verify like that, would probably be your wettest solution overall for the Corn Belt. The European ensemble there in the upper left also has a trough west ridge east solution like the Canadian ensemble. It definitely has its ridge further west, though. I wouldn't call that European ensemble as dry, but it definitely would not be nearly as wet as what the Canadian ensemble would show. And then you have the GFS ensemble there on the bottom right, just like yesterday. That model wants to show a bit of a trough west, ridge central, trough east weather pattern at that time. So again, you can see the differences in the 500 millibar forecast at the end of the 11 to 15 day period right now from the various ensembles. A good reason why it is just so difficult right now to talk about, especially rainfall forecast details, at least for the opening few days of the month of June. International weather here on this Thursday is going to be dry today in the Safrina corn areas of Brazil. Rain is going to be falling in Paraná and southern Mato Grosso do Sul for tomorrow. I will admit that the rainfall forecast looks a little bit drier. Was looking for maybe some rainfall amounts there of upwards of 2 inches, but I think that for tomorrow, rainfall amounts in Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul probably not any bigger than a half to an inch and a half. It's going to be dry there again by Saturday and staying dry for the rest of the month, and then some rains again in Paraná and Mato Grosso do Sul for middle and latter portions of the 11 to 50 day period. This 2-week rainfall forecast from the European ensemble would be indicative of near to somewhat below normal rainfall for a 2-week time frame for Paraná and southern Mato Grosso do Sul. Wintergreen areas of the former Soviet Union, mostly above normal rainfall for the next couple of weeks. Big portion of Ukraine and southern district, as well as a good portion of North Caucasus district, looking at rainfall amounts for the next 2 weeks of more than an inch and a half. Generally cool temperatures over the next week. Going to be seeing a number of mornings through Monday with low temperatures in the 30s. We do not see any threat of a freeze or frost. Week 2 during the week 2 time frame, we should be seeing temperatures moderating nicely in those wintergreen areas of the former Soviet Union. In Europe, a near normal rainfall for the next couple of weeks for Poland and areas to the south of there. Still below normal rainfall to the west of there across Germany, France, Spain, and England. And you can see there that good portion of Germany, France, England, and Spain seeing less than an inch or even less than a half inch of rainfall for the next couple of weeks. Western Europe going to be strictly above normal on temperatures for the next 2 weeks. Lots of days with highs in the 80s. Eastern Europe going to be running cool for week 1, then more normal temperatures for week 2. For the North China Plain, a little bit wetter forecast today. They are looking at still below normal rainfall for the next 10 days, but the North China Plain can see near normal rainfall for the 11 to 15 day time frame. Still looking at mostly above normal rainfall for Manchurian corn and soybean areas, especially wet for the 1 to 5 day time frame. They will then be drying out for the 6 to 10 day period before another increase in rainfall for the 11 to 15 day period. Mostly cool in Manchuria for week 1. They will be seeing more normal temperatures for week 2. Some rain going to be seen over the next 2 weeks in Australian wheat areas, but never truly a wet pattern. Normal rainfall at best. A lot of areas still running somewhat below normal. And near to mostly above normal rainfall for the next 2 weeks for the Canadian prairies. Obviously, your biggest rainfall totals in that period in Alberta and more northern portions of Saskatchewan. A decent amount of warmth in the 2-week forecast. That'll be especially the case in Manitoba, which is going to be staying warm into about Tuesday. Most of the Canadian prairies then seeing a few days of cool weather after that before they return to some warm weather again as we start the month of June. That's all I have for your Thursday. Everyone have themselves a great day.